Some cities rise upon mountains and look proudly toward the horizon, and some cities are born beside rivers and listen to the murmur of inland waters. Burgas belongs to neither kind. It was born from the meeting of sea and lake, of salt and reed, of gulls and merchants' sails. It is a city that smells of fish, tar, wet wood, and distant journeys. A city where the wind itself seems to carry stories from Constantinople, Odessa, and the forgotten ports of Thrace. If you enjoy stunning drone views paired with unforgettable history, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell, so you never miss an adventure with Horizon History. Let's take flight! The history of Burgas begins long before the first stone of the modern city was laid. The land around the Burgas Bay was inhabited in remote antiquity by Thracian tribes. These people, who worshipped horsemen, mountains, and mysterious gods of fertility, recognized the wealth hidden in the marshes and lagoons. Fish were plentiful, birds darkened the sky during migration, and the surrounding plains yielded grain in abundance. Archaeologists have uncovered traces of Thracian settlements, burial mounds, and sanctuaries that remind us that civilization here is older than many kingdoms whose names once thundered through Europe. When the Greeks sailed along the western Black Sea coast, they established colonies and trading stations. Nearby, Apollonia Pontica, today's Sozopol, became one of the great Greek cities of the region. Though Burgas itself was not yet a major urban center, the bay formed part of a lively maritime world. Amphora of wine, olive oil, and fish sauce traveled across these waters. One can imagine a Greek merchant complaining that the local Thracians drove hard bargains, a complaint that merchants in Burgas would continue to make for the next 2,000 years. The Romans arrived with roads, laws, taxes, and an admirable talent for building things that survived longer than their empire. Near modern Burgas, they founded Dualtum, a colony for retired legionaries established under Emperor Vespasian in the 1st century AD. These veterans received land as payment for years spent conquering distant peoples. Dualtum flourished with baths, forums, temples, and sturdy fortifications. Today, its ruins stand as one of the most important Roman archaeological sites in southeastern Bulgaria. A favorite local anecdote concerns the Roman veterans themselves. After decades of a military discipline, many suddenly found themselves farming near the Black Sea. Historians do not record their conversations, but one suspects that more than one former legionary looked at a plow and muttered that fighting barbarians had been easier. With the division of the Roman Empire, the region became part of Byzantium. For centuries, it lay near the shifting frontier between the Byzantine emperors and the Bulgarian states. Armies marched through the plains, fortresses changed hands, and treaties were signed with great ceremony before being broken with equal enthusiasm. Medieval chroniclers wrote of victories and defeats, but the ordinary fisherman probably judged each new ruler by a simpler question: whether taxes had gone up. The name Burgas appears relatively late in historical sources. Most scholars connect it to words meaning tower or fortress, suggesting the presence of a defensive structure near the harbor. The settlement gradually developed around a protected bay that offered good conditions for trade and fishing. During the Ottoman period, Burgas remained a modest but active port. Its population was mixed. Bulgarians, Greeks, Turks, Armenians, Jews, and others lived side by side. Such diversity was common in Black Sea ports, where commerce often proved stronger than prejudice. A sailor cares less about a man's language than about whether he can help unload a cargo before a storm arrives. Travelers of the 18th and 19th centuries describe Burgas as a small coastal town surrounded by marshes and lakes. Yet beneath this modest appearance lay growing economic importance: grain from the fertile Thracian plain, timber from the Strandja mountains, salt from the nearby lagoons, and fish from the sea all passed through the harbor. Salt deserves special mention, for it was once nearly as valuable as money. The nearby Atanasovsko Lake became famous for salt production. Before refrigeration, salt preserved food and sustained armies and cities. Many fortunes were built on those glittering white fields. Modern visitors who cover themselves with the lake's therapeutic mud may smile to learn that the same place once demanded exhausting labor under the summer sun. The 19th century brought the Bulgarian national revival. Schools, churches, and cultural associations strengthened Bulgarian identity throughout the Ottoman Empire. Burgas joined this awakening. Merchants funded education, teachers spread new ideas, and local leaders worked for greater cultural autonomy. Then came the great turning point, the Russo-Turkish War of 1877 to 1878. After centuries of Ottoman rule, Bulgaria was liberated, and Burgas entered a new era. What had been a provincial port suddenly found itself within a modern Bulgarian state eager to develop its economy and infrastructure. The transformation was remarkable. Railways connected Burgas to the interior. Streets were laid out, public buildings constructed, and trade expanded rapidly. Refugees from eastern Thrace, Macedonia, and other troubled regions arrived and helped shape the city's character. They brought dialects, recipes, crafts, and memories of lost homes. By the early 20th century, Burgas had become one of Bulgaria's most cosmopolitan cities. Walking through its markets, one could hear Bulgarian, Greek, Turkish, Armenian, Ladino, and Russian. The harbor buzzed with activity, cafes filled with merchants and sailors, and newspapers reported events from across Europe. The city also developed a reputation for humor and independent spirit. Burgas residents often joked that the sea made people less solemn than those living in the mountains. A local saying claimed that a man from Burgas could discuss politics, fishing, and poetry in the same conversation, and usually would, whether invited or not. The 20th century brought both prosperity and hardship. The Balkan Wars and the World Wars affected the city deeply, yet Burgas continued to grow. During the socialist period after 1944, industrialization accelerated. New factories, residential districts, and the large oil refinery transformed the urban landscape. The port became one of Bulgaria's most important economic gateways, and still the sea remained the city's true master. Fishermen went out before dawn, children collected shells along the shore, and lovers walked through the sea garden while waves whispered below the cliffs. Burgas produced notable poets, writers, and artists who found inspiration in the endless horizon of the Black Sea. Nature around the city is extraordinary. Burgas is surrounded by three large lakes, Burgas Lake, Atanasovsko Lake, and Mandrensko Lake, which form one of Europe's important bird migration corridors, the Via Pontica. Every autumn and spring, hundreds of thousands of birds pass overhead. Locals sometimes joke that the storks know the route better than the national railway. After 1989, Burgas faced the challenges of a changing economy, but it adapted with resilience. Tourism grew, public spaces were renewed, and the city increasingly became known not only as an industrial center, but also as a pleasant place to live and visit. Today, Burgas is a city of broad promenades, cultural festivals, busy docks, and sunsets that seem painted by an extravagant artist. The ancient Thracians, Roman veterans, Byzantine soldiers, Ottoman merchants, Bulgarian revivalists, and modern travelers have all left traces upon its shores. And when evening falls over Burgas Bay, when the gulls circle above the harbor and the Black Sea turns the color of old wine, one understands why people have remained here for millennia. Burgas is not merely a point on the map. It is a meeting place of histories, languages, and winds, a city that has learned, like the sea itself, to gather many stories without ever losing its own voice. Thanks for flying with Horizon History. If you enjoyed the journey, those sweeping drone views and the stories woven beneath them, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us where you'd like to explore next. Your support keeps us in the sky and the history coming. Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon.